Power doesn't come from what you say, but from what you don't. Some men speak to be understood, others to be seen, validated, echoed. But the Stoic, he doesn't speak for reaction. He speaks, if needed, to reveal nothing. Because the strongest truths aren't the ones performed, they're the ones protected. The world wants to know your past, your pain, your plan, your weakness dressed as honesty, your ambition wrapped in confession. But not everything inside you is meant to be shared. Some thoughts are seeds. You don't dig them up to prove they're growing. Some scars are maps. You don't unfold them until you've finished walking. Some visions, too clear to survive the noise of other people's voices. So the Stoic stays still. He observes. He withholds. Not out of fear, out of respect for himself, for the moment. For the power of saying less, because when you reveal less, you lose less. And sometimes that's the only way to keep what really matters. The pain you're carrying. Some wounds don't bleed, they echo, quietly, under the skin, in the way you flinch when no one's even touched you. And still, you don't speak it, not because it doesn't hurt, but because you've learned that some pain grows sharper when passed around. The Stoic doesn't deny it. He doesn't suppress it. He just knows not everyone deserves to hold what broke you, because most people don't want to understand. They want to respond, judge, fix, compare it to something they once felt. That's not what pain needs. Pain needs space, not sound. A place to settle, not be solved. And the more you narrate it, the less it belongs to you. It becomes entertainment, or worse, identity. But your pain is not a badge, it's a process. A fire that's still shaping the parts of you no one sees. So keep it quietly, respectfully. Let it teach, let it work, let it change your posture without needing applause. Because not all healing is public, and not all strength needs to be spoken to be seen. The voice of self-doubt, it speaks at night, when the noise fades, when the room dims, when no one else is around to drown it out. Are you enough? Are you built for this? Will they find out you're not as solid as you look? The Stoic hears it, but he doesn't echo it, because doubts, when spoken too soon, become louder, more real than they need to be. And not everyone deserves a front row seat to your tremble. The world doesn't know what to do with quiet insecurity. It turns it into weakness, into spectacle, into something to fix, instead of something you're allowed to grow through. So the Stoic keeps it, not to hide, but to refine. He lets doubt burn in silence, until it either dies or reveals something worth answering. Because not every shadow needs a spotlight, and not every question needs a witness. Some of the strongest people you'll ever meet have been questioned by their own mind 1,000 times over and never said a word. That's not denial, that's dominion. Of the self, of the storm, of the voice that shakes but never leads. The shape of your future. Most people talk their dreams to death. They speak them before they're formed, before they're tested, before they've had the chance to survive resistance. And the world, it listens with teeth, judging, doubting, distracting you from what was once clear when it was quiet. That's why the Stoic doesn't announce. He builds, in silence, in stillness, without applause. Because the future is fragile when spoken too early. A vision, exposed too soon, becomes an invitation for noise to shape it, so he guards it. The way fire is guarded in wind, not out of fear, out of understanding. That some things only become real when they're protected long enough to grow strong without being seen. You don't need to declare your next move, you need to make it, without ceremony, without seeking validation for a path you haven't walked yet. And when it's time, let results speak where words once wanted to. Because power isn't in the plan, it's in the quiet, before the plan becomes undeniable. The battles that sharpen you. Not every fight leaves a bruise. Some just change how you walk, how you breathe, how long you pause before speaking. The Stoic faces these battles alone, not because no one would listen, but because not every pain needs a witness to be worth something. Struggle is sacred when it's not put on display. The world celebrates scars it can see, but the deepest cuts leave no trace. They sharpen your patience, they burn your pride. They reveal the parts of you that were never real to begin with, and through it all, he stays silent. Not out of shame, but because the battle is still in progress. And a true warrior doesn't speak while the sword is still drawn. You don't owe anyone an update on your fight. You owe yourself the right to finish it without performing it. So let the wounds breathe. In private, let the pain teach before it becomes content. Because the battles that shape you most don't happen online. They happen in rooms no one will ever enter but you, and that's exactly where they belong. The fault lines in your armor. Everyone has cracks, fault lines, weak points that don't show until the pressure climbs, but not everyone knows how to protect them. Most expose them too early, calling it honesty, calling it being real. But the Stoic knows real doesn't mean revealed. Some things are true and still private, still sacred. You don't have to share where you break, not with friends, not with lovers, not with strangers who haven't earned that kind of access. Because people remember weakness, not to hold it with care, but to mark it. Use it. Repeat it. And your armor? It's not shame, it's strategy. Built from what you've learned about how the world listens when it thinks you're bleeding. So the Stoic stays still, stays covered, not cold, just precise. You don't need to lie. Just don't hand your soft spots to hands that haven't proven. They won't press. Silence is protection. Discernment is strength. And not everyone deserves to know where you still hurt. The grievance you haven't let go. You were wronged, overlooked, spoken to, like you were less, and it stings. So you hold it, rehearse it, tell it again in different words to different people. But the Stoic, he doesn't retell. Because the more you speak a wound, the more it owns you. Grievance becomes identity, and identity is hard to outgrow. So he carries it silently until it's no longer his to carry. Not because it was fair, not because it didn't matter, but because holding it louder doesn't make it lighter. The world tells you to speak your truth. But not every truth needs a mic. Some just need to be released. And when you drop it, not performatively but internally, you win. Because your peace can't depend on whether others understand your pain. That's not justice. That's prison. So let them forget, let them move, let them think they were right. And you? Let it go. Before it becomes the only thing left you still carry, the fire of your desires. You want something, badly, but you haven't touched it yet, haven't named it out loud, haven't made it real outside your own breath. And maybe that's a good thing. The Stoic doesn't announce desire. He builds heat quietly, internally, until it becomes direction. Because the more you speak it, the more others shape it, question it, project their fears onto it, and a fire that's explained too early burns out. So he keeps it, not hidden, just guarded, like a coal in the dark, not ready for wind. Not all hunger needs exposure. Some just need space to grow sharper. And not everyone deserves to see what moves you before it's real. Because desire, once shared, becomes negotiation, and not everyone will fight for it the way you will. So the Stoic holds his want like a weapon not yet drawn, prepared, clean, untouched by noise. And when the time comes, he doesn't need to explain it, he just walks toward it, while others are still asking why. The road you're growing on, you're getting better, but you haven't said it, haven't posted it, haven't pointed at the new habits, the quiet victories, the scars now sealed. That's how it should be. The Stoic grows where no one's watching, because growth that needs applause isn't growth, it's performance. And real transformation is almost invisible while it's happening. It shows up in how you pause, how you no longer argue to win, how you notice your trigger but don't pull it. You don't need to say I've changed. Let the silence say it. Let the reactions you don't have prove it. Because the deeper the growth, the less explanation it needs. The world values speed, noise, progress reports, but the Stoic values depth. And depth doesn't demand to be seen. It just exists, quiet, rooted, stronger than the surface will ever know. So keep walking, keeps sharpening, not for praise, not for permission, just for the quiet knowing that this road is yours, even if no one claps when you reach the next mile. The feelings that haven't finished. Not every feeling is ready to be spoken. Some are still forming, still shifting, still too soft to survive outside your chest. But people rush, they spill what stirs, they name what's not yet clear, and end up stuck in something they were only meant to move through. The Stoic doesn't do that. He feels fully but quietly until the emotion ripens or dissolves. Because once it's spoken, it solidifies, it creates expectation, obligation, echoes that don't leave easy, so he waits. He lets it breathe, he lets it burn, he lets it whisper without forcing it into form. Anger, love, fear, longing. Not every flame needs a name, and when the feeling finishes, when it becomes still, then he decides if it's worth sharing. Most of the time, it's not, because the strongest men aren't the ones who tell you how they feel in the moment. They're the ones who carry it until they no longer have to. Keep something unsaid, let it protect you. Not everything needs to be told, not because it's weak, but because it's yours. And in a world that wants your thoughts before they're ready, your pain before it's processed, your goals before they're grounded, the most powerful thing you can do is keep something silent, unposted, unshown, not hidden out of fear, but protected out of respect for your path, for your peace, for the parts of you that are still becoming. The Stoic isn't cold. He's just selective. He knows once you speak it, you hand it over. And some things aren't meant to be handed. They're meant to be held. So tonight, let something stay inside. Let it sharpen, let it settle, let it live, without needing to be seen, because the deepest truths don't echo, they stand, quiet, unshaken. And so do you.